Today we're going to be talking about complex radical expressions. So we're going to be looking at questions like this where we're going to be having radicals but in complex rational form. So if we have radical 3 over 2 times radical 2 over 2 minus 1/2 being divided by radical 2 over 2 times 1/2, we're going to simplify this and see what the answer is. So here we just have a complex rational, which means we're going to be multiplying these together first. So that means we would get radical 6 over 4 minus 1/2 over, in the bottom we would have radical 2 over 4. So remember, outsides can multiply and insides can multiply, but you can't multiply outsides and insides together. Alright, so then we're going to have, in this numerator, we've got to get a common denominator, which would be 4. The first fraction doesn't need anything, so that's just going to be radical 6. The second fraction, I'm going to make this be plus a negative, but the second fraction needs to be multiplied by 2 to get to that 4. So then we would have radical 6 minus 2 in the numerator. And the denominator of this still stays as radical 2 over 4. There's nothing to simplify. That 2 is inside and the 4 is outside. Now we have a division question. So we're going to keep the top one the same and flip the bottom one and see what can simplify or cross off. So these 4s are monomials, they can cross off, but nothing else can. So we're left with radical 6 minus 2 over radical 2. Now in our previous discussions we know that we can't have a radical left in the denominator, so we do need to rationalize that. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by radical 2. Since this is a binomial, we're going to work on distributing that in. So that would give us radical 12 minus 2 radical 2 over, that would be radical 4, which is just 2. We're also going to look to see if we can simplify anything. So this radical 12 we can break down into 2 radical 3. We still have everything else there. And then the last thing, we notice that all 3 of these numbers on the outside of the radicals are divisible by 2. So that means that our final answer is going to be radical 3 minus radical 2. And these answers may not look pretty at all, and that's okay, but we're simplifying them as much as possible using all of our complex rational rules and all of our radical rules that we've dealt with. So let's take a look at one more here. So we have 1/2 minus the radical 3 over 2 all over radical 2 over 2. So before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and make that be plus a negative. So the first thing is to look at and combine the numerators, which means we already have a common denominator. So we're going to have 1 minus radical 3 over 2 over our denominator of radical 2 over 2. There's nothing else to do there. Let's go this way. We're going to keep the top one the same and flip the bottom one. And then again, we're going to look to see if anything crosses off. So these 2's are monomials, so they're allowed to cross off. But nothing else simplifies since this is in, and that's out. So over here we would have 1 minus radical 3 over radical 2. And then we're going to rationalize. Again, you cannot leave a radical in the denominator. That means that we would have, distributing into this, radical 2 minus radical 6 over positive 2. Now all of these numbers are divisible by 2, but they're all not outside of the radical. So that means that this here would be our answer.